Classic TV fans, Rick Nineg here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Happy 2023. I'm so excited to do my first video of 2023. Let's get right to it. We're going to be talking about what a lot of you came to my channel to see, what a lot of you are fans of, and my favorite show of all time, I Love Lucy. We're going to talk about something very controversial that you may or may not have noticed. I know some fans know about this, some fans may not. Maybe you've seen it if you're a fan of I Love Lucy, but maybe didn't pay much attention to it. But I know it has come to the forefront. I've heard it in some podcasts. I've heard some people write about it. Now we're going to talk about it. The Lucy spankings. Yes, it's in I Love Lucy. It's when Ricky, the character, slaps Lucy's behind. And it happens on camera. It doesn't happen once, twice. I counted 4 times. It's mentioned other times throughout the course of I Love Lucy. We're going to get into it, and I'm going to show you in which episodes that happens and what you think about it. I mean, does it make you not want to watch the show? Have you ever heard about this? We'll get into it, but let's start with season 1. The episode is called Lucy Plays Cupid. Comes out in 1952. Now, in this one, you may have seen it. Lucy delivers a romantic note from her shy neighbor, the elderly Miss Lewis, to the grocer, played by Edward Everett Horton. Now, it's a pretty interesting episode, although it's not one of my favorites. There's no Ethel, there's no Fred in this one, but essentially Ricky gets mad at Lucy for getting involved in other people's affairs, and he says, if you act like a child, I'm going to treat you like a child. I'm going to put you over my knee. Now, Lucy essentially talks back to Ricky and says, you know what, you can't scare me like this. And well, Ricky has it, puts her over his knee and spanks her and kind of teaches her a lesson, quote unquote, throughout the frame of the story. Now, have you seen this episode? Did you notice the spanking? And what did you think of it? Do you think it was something that we could watch and say, okay, this is a funny scene? Like, have you laughed at this scene? Or is it something that makes the episode for you weaker, or an episode that you don't like? Or does it make no difference at all? I would like to hear your thoughts down below. Moving on to season 2, the episode is called The Ricardos Change Apartments. It comes out in 1953. Now, in this one, Lucy's trying to prove that her apartment is too small. That is, her and Ricky's apartment, now that the baby is in there. So she fills it with all kinds of junk, including toys and slides and all these crazy things. Now, she wants to switch apartments with the Bensons, but Ricky says they can't afford the extra rent. So Lucy switches furniture with the Bensons before Ricky gets home, hoping that he'll be so delighted and happy with the bigger apartment that his objections, his issues about it will disappear. Now, about in the middle of the episode, Lucy brings all these toys around, trying to convince Ricky that everything is too small, and he says that she needs to bring those toys back and get everything back to normal, and that they're not moving into a new apartment. And so finally, she's trying to get away from him, and he's like, come over here, I'm gonna spank you. And she's like, well, you gotta catch me first. And she's on that little merry-go-round little object. It's a toy that I've never seen in the present day, but I'm sure it was popular in the 50s. And he catches her essentially and slaps her, putting her on top of his knee. Again, kind of similar in the episode I was talking about previously. Now, I really like this episode. It's a funny one where they switch apartments. It's great to see in one episode both apartments, that is the brick wall apartment with the window versus the other one with the window, and I think it's great. But I don't know, what do you think about this spanking scene? Was it necessary? Did it make you laugh? Did it make you upset? Tell me your thoughts down below. Moving on to season 3, the episode called Ricky's Life Story. Now, it comes out in 1953, which catalogs when Ricky appears in Life magazine, and there are no pictures of Lucy, so she gets jealous, and Ricky tries to appease her by letting her star in a dance number at the club. Now, they are purposefully rehearsing, and he's making it so that the rehearsal is so long and hard and difficult so that she quits from exhaustion. But when Lucy catches on to what he's doing, she hatches a scheme to upstage Ricky during his big musical number. Now, she is behind Ricky and doing all these magic tricks, almost like the Ethel in Albuquerque episode. But anyway, when Ricky turns around, he actually finally sees her and says, don't touch those wires. Don't you touch those wires, which are being held up by Fred at the time. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, this is my version of Babalu. So, okay, it's up for interpretation. I call it a slap. I mean, he is slapping with both hands her bum. and going back and forth, like in a Babalu way. Now, I could say that out of the four of these, this is probably the least offensive, if that even makes sense, or the least severe, let's just say. But I don't know. In my opinion, it's a slap. I don't know what you have to think. And so this spanking, I mean, what did you think about it? I actually, again, like this episode. It's one of my favorites from season 3 because he exhausts her and she's so tired and she's upstaging him. But the scene at the end, what do you think about that? And finally, the last episode that I'll cover, Ricky loses his temper. It's also from season 3, but this one came out in 1954. Now, Ricky is getting mad when he finds out the price of Lucy's new hat. She just is addicted to buying hats, according to him. Now, Lucy says, well, you have a problem too, Ricky, and that is that you always lose your temper. So she bets him that she can go longer without a new hat than he can go without losing his temper. But she can't resist the next hat that she sees when she's going out with Ethel, and she's got to provoke an outburst from Ricky before the hat is delivered. Now, it's a funny episode in my opinion. There's this back and forth of Lucy just trying to make him upset and her playing all these pranks and just sneaky things on him. When finally Ricky says, you know what, I give up, buy whatever hat you want, this bet is silly. And he realizes that Lucy's hat gets delivered right as she says that. So he thinks, wait, so that means you actually lost the bet and you made me suffer for no reason. And the episode ends where he, again, bends her over, puts her on his lap, and slaps her pretty much to punish her. Now, I don't know if you've seen this one as well. I don't know if they play this one. I'm trying to think. I have it on DVD, but I don't know if you have seen it much in reruns or even if they play it, because I didn't see it until I saw it on the DVD sets. But anyway, what do you think about this episode? I like it. What do you think about the slap scene at the end? Now, they're all very similar except for the Ricky's Life Story one. Puts Lucy over his knee, and it's his way of punishing his wife. Now, again, this was the 1950s. This probably wouldn't fly today. But is there a certain innocent humor to it, or is it just plain uncalled for? I'd love to know your thoughts down below. It's always great to get just a civil discussion talking about these things to see if this is something that could be replicated or if it's a one-time thing. Thank you so much for all the support, and most importantly, be hopeful. Thank you so much to my supporters, especially my Diamond tier patrons, Vito L, Sally N, Ricky, Kevin K, Gerard D, David D, and Citizen Kane 359. If you want your name to be heard or put on this list, make sure to check out the Patreon link in the description. Thank you so much.